Okay, so in today's video we're going to talk about a backswing mistake that I am seeing a number of golfers, particularly online golfers, make at this moment in time. And it's causing them to rush the downswing and getting them out of sequence. So first of all, to paint a little bit of a picture, the difference between a really good golfer and a lesser good golfer, right? So whether that's a mid to high handicap and separating generally to low to professional golfers, is that the low to professional golfer is a much more athletic golfer, and because they're more athletic, they possess better positions, right? So better golfers tend to really fling that lead arm off the chest and release that club down, and lesser golfers don't tend to do that. They tend to be more chicken winged. So what I'm always trying to do with golfers, particularly golfers online, and obviously people that come to visit for lessons, but I'm trying to give them the idea of what you should be trying to achieve, and also trying to give them the correct sort of feelings. And I think one of the best ways to do this is to utilize resistance tubing. So we're going to talk about the backswing, of course, but I also want to try and get across my point really. So if I use that resistance tubing and just sort of support my club in there for a moment, the idea really again is what we see with better golfers is that they clear the body out of the way, and it's almost like the arms are still higher up in terms of that separation of the movement. And what we tend to see with less good golfers is everything sort of working at the same rate of rotation. So you can imagine if I held this here and I rotate my body and I create a big stretch, I'm storing up loads of energy, as you guys can see now, to propel that club through there. As opposed to if I sort of bring it down like this together, it's just not going to be the same. So better golfers understand how to activate muscles, how to create stretch in the golf swing better, I would say, than amateur golfers. And this is my point for the backswing. Because the biggest problem that I see with amateur golfers in the backswing is they lack width. Okay, so the arms aren't working wide enough in the backswing. But not just that, they don't complete the backswing. Okay, too many golfers are too afraid. They stay looking at the golf ball and they only get to these sort of positions like so. The problem is from here, you're not going to be able to create any sort of separation or movement, any sort of natural, sort of swinging motion. It's just, you're too stuck, being in this type of position. And you can hit the golf ball, of course you can, but you're just going to possess no real athleticism. So the question would then be, well, it's difficult. I get it for, golfers online, particularly that are watching social media, because one video says short, powerful backswing. Next one says don't turn your shoulders. The next one says this and that. So what should you be looking to achieve? And let's put it into context of what is the backswing about. Well, your backswing should be trying to give you time, because the big thing that you're going to have to do, and the big area that the difference between, again, good golfers and bad golfers, is transition. So the transition is what I tried to demonstrate here. That start to the downswing, the pros are much better with their rotation and movement to the lead side in relation to how quickly their arms come down, as opposed to amateurs would work those two much closer together, which doesn't create that stretch, doesn't create that momentum, so you can't swing that arm through. So you have to give yourself leverage. Plus also, when you think about it, leverage is power. The further back you swing your arms, the more club head speed you're going to be capable of creating. And you think of putting. If you're going to putt 3 feet, you're only going to take it back so far. If you're going to putt 30 feet, you're going to take it back further. It's the same. So the first thing you've got to do is you have to create leverage. The second thing we have to do is you have to trigger rotational movement, because your rotational movement is what helps us swing the club on plane. If you only had purely leverage, you'd deviate off plane, and we need to swing the club on plane. So your rotation, as we rotate and we lever our arms up in the air, that's what gives us this balance of a nice swing shape. And then what about width? Well, you need to create width so your hands don't get too close to your body, but you don't also want to create too much width that you don't allow the leverage. So I think a really simple drill to put this all together is a split handle drill. So what you want to do is you want to put your hands on the golf club about shoulder width apart, and then turn your trail hand so it's facing up towards the sky, and then go into your posture. And the feeling is that as you sort of swing back, you want to achieve a 90 degrees worth of shoulder rotation, which basically just means, as a reference, your shoulders would be this way. Okay, this means that your chest is rotating and so is your pelvis. I personally would always propose to keep the trail leg flexed. I think it creates an element of resistance. I think creating resistance makes it easier to open up the body. So as you swing up, what you're trying to do when you do this exercise is you're trying to use your trail hand to pull your lead arm close. So you'll find this is still wide, this is narrow. This is narrow and this is wide, but maybe this is too wide. because like I said earlier, from this position to left arm horizontal, I'm supposed to trigger a lot of linear rotation. If I can get that left arm further back, it's going to give me more time. And time is the factor that I think is why you're rushing. Time is the factor as to why you're struggling. So this simple drill, the objective is lift your arm up in the air with your lead hand, but also use your right hand to pull that lead arm back and around you. And what you should notice, if I do it this way, your right arm will fold applicable. So if I just try and get my lead arm through my shoulder line, so my right arm folds accordingly. If you try and tuck this arm in too much, so the club gets laid off, and it also hinders my ability to create width. And that's what I'm seeing, you know, golfers that are either trying to get into these sort of positions too much instead of just using that right arm. So if you're lost in your backswing, you need leverage, you need rotation, and you need to use your right hand to help you lever that left arm up coming in towards that backswing position. And I think use this exercise to get the feeling of all and the above of those, and it should help you out in a big way. So as I sort of hit some shots here, if I can complete that turn, so as I'm getting up here, and then that gives me time to get that left arm close, and then I can just whip that club through. So you don't want that left arm too short, otherwise it's going to make that downswing feel like a rush, and you're just not going to be able to gather enough momentum and enough speed and enough leverage to be able to really propel that lead arm through that hitting zone. And like I say, I think it's a basic mistake that golfers are making, and hopefully this video will just help liberate you and understand again the importance of having a longer backswing position.